You wake up, you check your phone, you flip on the lights without thinking about it, you open the fridge and grab the milk. Outside, the sky looks exactly the way it looked yesterday. Clear, ordinary, unremarkable. Nothing about this morning tells you that anything is wrong. And that's exactly the problem, because the thing that could end this morning in an instant isn't in the sky above you. It's 93 million miles away, and it's already awake. In 1859, a solar storm known as the Carrington event slammed into Earth with enough force to set telegraph wires on fire in the middle of operators' hands. If a storm of that exact magnitude hit today, the projected damage runs into the trillions of dollars. High-voltage transformers, the literal backbone of the power grid, could melt from the inside out. Satellites could go blind. GPS could fail across entire continents. And because we don't keep enough spare transformers in reserve, the darkness that follows wouldn't last hours. It could last months. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why our sun is more dangerous right now than it has been in over a decade. The one infrastructure failure almost nobody outside the power industry knows about, and what real independence from the grid actually requires. Think about how much of your life quietly assumes the grid will always be there. Your phone charges overnight without a thought. Your water comes out of the tap at full pressure because an electric pump, somewhere out of sight, is doing its job. Your food stays cold. Your bank balance exists as a number on a server you'll never see. We built an entire civilization on the assumption that the electrical grid is a permanent fact of nature, like gravity or sunlight. It is not. It is a machine built by people, vulnerable to the one force in the solar system large enough to break it at continental scale, our own star. We trust the grid implicitly because the weather on Earth looks fine. Clear skies, calm winds, an ordinary day. But the weather that actually threatens the modern world doesn't happen in our atmosphere. It happens 93 million miles away, on the surface of the sun, and almost nobody is watching it the way they watch a hurricane forecast. Here's why this moment specifically matters. The sun operates on an 11-year cycle of activity, and right now, in this cycle, known as Solar Cycle 25, our star is at its most violent peak. It is actively hurling billion-ton clouds of magnetized plasma into space, called coronal mass ejections, at a rate far higher than during the quiet years. Most of these miss Earth entirely. Some graze us and produce nothing more than a beautiful aurora. But every so often, one hits us dead center, and the difference between a beautiful night sky and a national blackout is simply a matter of geometry and timing. Here's the raw science, and once you understand it, you'll never look at the northern lights the same way again. A coronal mass ejection is a massive burst of charged solar plasma, along with its own magnetic field, thrown outward from the sun. When it slams into Earth's magnetic field, it compresses and distorts it violently. That distortion induces electrical currents in anything long and conductive on the ground, and modern power grids, with their thousands of miles of high-voltage transmission lines, are essentially the largest antennas humanity has ever built for this exact kind of event. These are called geomagnetically induced currents, and they don't politely trip a breaker. They flow directly into transformer coils and generate intense, localized heat, enough to physically melt the copper windings inside from the inside out. And this is the overlooked data that almost nobody outside the utility industry ever hears. The massive high-voltage transformers that would fail in an event like this are not sitting in a warehouse somewhere, ready to be swapped in. They are custom-built, often overseas. And a single replacement transformer can take over a year to manufacture and deliver under normal conditions. There is no national stockpile large enough to replace hundreds of them simultaneously. If a Carrington-level event took out even a fraction of the transformers on the North American grid at once, the honest answer to how long until the power comes back would be measured in months, in some regions potentially longer. Here's the systemic gap driving all of this. Our entire modern civilization was built during a multi-decade stretch of relatively quiet solar activity, and every piece of essential infrastructure got wired together on top of that false sense of security. Water pumps, hospital backup systems, food supply chains, financial networks, all of it now depends on a single delicate electrical web that doubles as a giant antenna for solar storms. Governments know this. Utility engineers know this. Space weather scientists have been publishing on this risk for decades, and yet grid hardening measures, the physical devices that can protect transformers from these induced currents, remain radically underfunded, and in large parts of the private utility sector, essentially optional. The science isn't hiding. The urgency simply hasn't caught up to the funding. Think about how that funding gap actually plays out on the ground. Protective devices exist right now that can be installed on high-voltage transformers to block or redirect these induced currents before they ever reach the sensitive windings inside. They are not exotic technology. They are a known available engineering solution. But installing them across an entire regional grid costs real money And because a Carrington-level storm hasn't hit a fully modern grid in living memory, it's treated by many private utilities as a low probability expense rather than an inevitability on a long enough timeline. That's the quiet, unglamorous truth behind this entire threat. It isn't that the fix doesn't exist, it's that the fix keeps losing the budget argument against next quarter's more visible priorities. And here's a second overlooked signal worth knowing, one you can actually watch for yourself. In the days before a major solar eruption reaches Earth, space weather monitoring satellites typically catch it leaving the sun's surface, giving forecasters anywhere from several hours to a couple of days of warning before it arrives. That's real lead time, enough to charge devices, fill containers with water, and get cash out of an ATM while it still works. The problem is that almost nobody outside specialists and hobbyists ever checks a space weather forecast, even though the data is publicly available in real time. The warning system already exists. The public habit of watching it does not. This is not a substitute for your local authorities. Know your evacuation route, keep your kit ready, and when officials say move, you move. Your single biggest vulnerability in a scenario like this isn't the storm itself. It's dependency. If the grid goes down for 30 days, the debit card in your wallet becomes a piece of plastic. Your smart home becomes a collection of expensive bricks. Preparedness here means building a layer of your life that doesn't need the grid to function at all. Start with physical cash in small denominations, kept somewhere secure in your home, because if the grid is down, card readers and ATMs are down with it. Get a manual, non-electric water filtration system because municipal water pressure depends almost entirely on electric pumps. And when those pumps stop, the water stops following you. Stock non-perishable food that requires zero electricity and ideally zero cooking to prepare. Canned goods, dried staples, anything you can eat safely straight from the container. Keep a battery or hand crank emergency radio because it may be your only reliable source of information when networks are down. And for your most critical small electronics, a backup radio, an external hard drive with important documents, a basic phone, keep them inside a Faraday bag or a metal enclosure, which can shield sensitive electronics from the induced currents that a severe geomagnetic storm can drive through unprotected wiring and devices. Beyond the physical kit, build a short list of what actually depends on the grid in your specific life. If anyone in your household relies on refrigerated medication, a home medical device, or powered mobility equipment, work out now, not during an emergency, what a manual or battery-powered backup looks like. If you rely on a well rather than municipal water, know how you'd draw water without the electric pump. If your heat or cooking is entirely electric, have at least one non-electric alternative on hand, whether that's a simple camp stove used safely outdoors or an alternate heat source appropriate to your climate. The goal isn't to duplicate your entire modern life without power. It's to identify the 2 or 3 dependencies that would hurt you first and quietly solve for those before you ever need to. None of this requires panic. It requires acting on a genuinely documented risk before your star force is the issue. Here's the piece that matters more than any transformer or any bank account. You cannot negotiate with a solar storm. You cannot lobby it, delay it, or reason with it. It doesn't care about deadlines or budgets or which political party controls funding for grid resilience. It operates on its own timeline, indifferent to whether we're ready. The only variable you actually control is whether you built any independence from the system before it was tested. Think about the operators who watched their telegraph equipment catch fire in 1859 with absolutely no understanding of what was happening to them. We are not those people. We have over a century and a half of accumulated solar physics, a clear scientific picture of exactly what our star is capable of, and a solar cycle currently near its peak, giving us every reason to take this seriously right now, while the lights are still on and the water is still running. True readiness isn't a bunker mentality. It's simply refusing to be 100% dependent on a system you don't control, built during a historical lull in solar activity that was never guaranteed to last. When the lights go out and the screens go black, the people who prepared won't panic. They'll simply step into the analog systems they quietly built while everyone else was still staring at a phone that no longer works.